All right, we have a requested topic here, and the topic is Earth's magnetic poles, and specifically looking at polar shift. And once every 300,000 years or something like that, the Earth's magnetic poles shift from north to south and south to north, and they drift also pretty much all of the time. And the pole drifting has kind of increased, at least on the North Pole, but I'm assuming on the South Pole too. Uh, the rate of the drift has increased steadily, but Edgar Casey had a prediction that the shift would happen, I think, in 1998. And the shift kind of did start increasing around then, but Edgar Casey predicted, massive catastrophe that would happen during the magnetic shift and fucking continents sinking and like other continents kind of showing back up and all of this stuff based on tectonic plate shift and earthquakes and all that. Anyway, magnetic pole shift. So we're going to look at that here. And I guess the question, it's mostly about the degree to which it is shifting, because the shift is constant. It's always happening. But the question is basically, are we on the brink of a massive magnetic pole shift? And we have a root card of Seven of Swords reversed, and a main card of the Eight of Pentacles. So this would essentially show some sort of force change. It's pressure. I mean, that's literally what the Seven of Swords talks about, is pressure to do something. And that might be talking about the tectonic plates and fucking pressure as they run into each other or whatever. This thing being reversed, I would pretty much read that as sort of elevated pressure. But the main card being the Eight of Pentacles, to me, right away, this is not necessarily showing any sort of massive shift. The Eight of Pentacles is very consistent. And here, like, this is the craftsman, and they're just cranking out these pentacles all day. As we look deeper in the card, there might be something about like volcanoes or magma that's showing up just in the furnace. But this, I would assume, is showing something very measured and steady. So the rate at which the pole is shifting right now, and the rate is increasing, but it's increasing at a steady rate. I guess I use the word rate a lot there. But I would assume that it's going to continue this. Now, I guess we'll just put a card on either side of this to flesh out this Eight of Pentacles. And we get the Sun and the Temperance card, which is interesting because, I mean, if the magnetic poles were to shift, no matter what, there would be a massive threat to us from the sun, because the magnetic field helps to protect us from all the solar rays and all of that. But this is also like sort of this thing that is split into two. This might represent the two different poles, like the North and South Pole. And the Temperance card is also showing these two different things here that are being combined into one thing. And I think that might actually happen when the poles shift. I don't think it turns like this necessarily. I think there's a period of time where everything is just a jumble fuck. And that's probably what the Temperance card is showing, is, the North and South magnetic pole essentially being blended into one thing for a period of time. So it looks like currently we have this steady sort of change. And eventually, this would lead into something that would be a blended together jumblefuck. And I guess if we're looking at this as the poles in the past, this would be the two balanced and in harmony and all of that. Now, let's just look at a timeline between now and the union or the jumblefuck, as it were. And a page of pentacles is absolutely not an answer to a timeline whatsoever. So to me, that would just say that the timeline is kind of irrelevant to us. It wouldn't necessarily happen in our lifetimes. But the Page of Pentacles is a person. It's not a timeline. It's like a person or a type of person. So here, it looks like the timeline would not necessarily be applicable. So from here, what I want to do, well, I guess first, because I do have the Tattoo Tarot here, let's just see what the Tattoo Tarot says. And this one wants to come out for sure. And that is a 10 of coins. So what's on the top? A reversed 5 of wands. All right. So the 5 of wands would show a certain amount of clashing. And this thing being upside down, the way that I would normally read this is like some sort of a peace that would happen after a period of strife or clash. And the 10 of coins does show sturdiness and steadiness, a firm foundation. So looking at all of this, this does not look like we are in any imminent threat of the magnetic poles shifting drastically anytime soon. Now, what I want to look at here is just other sort of massive Earth catastrophes. And let's see if we've got any coming up. And I'm going to look first within a year. Any massive Earth catastrophe coming up within a year. There's two that want to come out here. This one and the one on the bottom. There is the 5 of wands. Again, like this guy. But here it's not reversed. So this would show... I need to find out if this is talking about people, because this might be war, right? This might be mass war. And the Ace of Cups. We've got water and we've got the moon. So this might be some weird sort of tidal shit, but I want to pull another card on this 5 of wands just to see what the heck this is talking about. And that would be people. So where does the Ace of Cups fit into this? This would be something that would affect people and make them, I guess, more ornery. Maybe it's the moon. So let's just see what this is talking about. We're going to pull one more card on the moon. And we get a reversed 8 of Cups. I'm getting some sort of like body sign here that's not exactly the right thing. Here we go. And it's a 4 of Cups. I'm guessing this would talk more about the tide, maybe? It's all Cups cards, right? So we've got the Ace of Cups, which is normally about fulfillment. But the thing that's really sticking out is just the moon blowing the blessing into the cup, but that's the moon's influence over the water and the tides. And in the 4 of Cups, what is the thing that's actually coming out? I think it's something that's being dropped into the ocean. This might be pollution, actually. Um, Fascinating. And I'm going to put the Eight of Cups back into the deck because when I put it down, I just got this feeling, right, that it wasn't the correct card. So, is this talking about pollution? It might be pollution coming from war or coming from the way that fucking business operates, where people are always trying to, undercut each other or whatever. And I just had a conversation today about how fluoride ended up being dumped into everybody's water supply, even though it's like industrial waste and there was never any actual reason, that they would do it. It's not a fucking vitamin, and there was never any actual proof that it improved anybody's teeth. So let's see if this is pollution that we're looking at. So bottom. As far as a yes or no, a Four of Wands would be a yes. Let's just look a little deeper into this and see what is coming out. I'm looking at the lipstick, actually. Now, this to me is probably talking about, they call it PFAS, but the forever chemicals. And that's the chemicals that get into the water, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. I've heard that 40% of America's drinking water has unacceptable levels of this stuff. And that would fit with all the pollution and everything. Now, this, to me, would say that that shit might actually be having an effect on people in a negative way. And I'm sure if there were any studies that showed that it would alter people's behavior, that those studies would be immediately fucking buried. But when we look at this, and I'm just looking at, Earth disasters, to me, what all of this is showing is pollution, and it's shit that is dumped in the water. And readings in the past have shown that in the next world, in the future world, I guess, which maybe we're in now, whoever controls the water controls the world. Water is going to be the actual force that rules this place. And I'm sure it's going to be clean water. Clean drinking water apparently is going to be really hard to find. And the people that control the clean water are going to control the world. I wonder, let's just look at this and see if there's also some sort of pollution that would come up from the ground. If it would come from the earth itself. So we get the moon and the ace of swords. Now I have to do a check. Am I holding them all upside down? And I am. So we get the moon and the ace of swords. So would anything come up from the ground? The moon right away, I would say no. And if anything, it might be it would be the moon affecting the tide. The ace of swords is about willpower and sort of having control, which again would say to me that this would be human driven. So the biggest world disaster, from what the cards are saying, would be human made, and it's going to be pollution in our water. I would love to hear what you think about this. If you do have requests for readings, you can do those on the Patreon channel, and it's Tarot by Fergus on Patreon. You can subscribe for as low as $5 a month, and I highly recommend that. But for $10 a month, you can make reading requests. And for $50 a month, you get a personal reading every month. And you can switch those things at any time, like start at 50 and immediately drop it to 5 after you get your reading or whatever the fuck. You can switch all that, cancel at any time, all that. But I do recommend checking out the Patreon channel. I do readings for it all the time. And if there's anything that is maybe too controversial to put on YouTube, that's what I do with it. I put it on the Patreon. And that's also where I take the requests from. But that's all we have for now, and peace.